Hello everyone, my name is Kyle Thiem with the National Weather Service office here in Peachtree City, Georgia, and this is your weekly weather briefing for North and Central Georgia for Thursday, August 11th, 2022. So for the highlights for this week, something we're actually pretty excited about here within the office. We have a cold, or albeit a dry front that's going to be pushing in throughout the day today and through Friday, which actually means we're looking at a mostly dry weekend for North and Central Georgia for the first time in what seems like a long time. We're also going to have some slightly cooler temperatures this week, with highs topping out only in the upper 80s and low 90s. Before returning to some typical summertime scattered showers and storms returning by next week. But at least we'll have a nice weekend to live through until we get back to those typical summertime conditions. So looking at things currently, this is a look at the satellite view going into this afternoon. And you'll happen to see here this ribbon of yellows and oranges back here. That's some dry air that's going to be coming in from the continental northwest. That's going to slowly start pushing into this area, our forecast area, as we get into the next couple days. And looking at radar, we can actually start to see those trends start to develop. So this is a look at one of our high resolution model radars going for today and tomorrow. And we see for today, we have mostly scattered coverage across the forecast area. Before tomorrow here, you can see most of that coverage starts to push off towards the central part of the state. And that's because we're starting to get some of that drier air pushing in, which is going to give us mostly clear weekend. And as we see that, we're starting to get into a period of pattern change. Now in this type of, in our area during the summertime, that pattern change is something that we like to see. And this is kind of a glimpse at what we're looking at for the next week. So what you're seeing here is our upper level wind charts. And the colors that you see here are the anomalies that we're seeing. So these reds are anomalously high values, where these cooler colors are low values, which means that we have these troughs that are starting to dig into these areas. So as we see here, we have higher pressure that's going to start building over the western part of the country, which is pretty typical for deep summer type conditions. But with that, we also see these low pressure surges that are starting to push into the far eastern part of the country. Well, what that means is across the northwest, or across the Midwest, going into this area, we start moving into this northwest flow. Now, these northwest winds typically mean more active weather, but also more dry air surges, which is what we're going to be experiencing through this weekend. So if we see here, this is a look at upper level moisture. And so you can think of these, obviously the browns as dry slots and the greens there as moisture plumes. And as we see here, when we start out, for today and tonight, when this loop starts back over, you'll see that we'll be entrenched in a lot of this moist air. But here comes this dry push, and that's going to stay in place throughout the weekend before this next plume of moisture starts to come in through next week, getting us back to scattered showers and thunderstorms. But this is the first time in a while that we've seen a dry air push this strong start to surge into the area, and it's because of that pattern change where we're starting to see more of this northwest flow here with this more chaotic changes that we're going to be seeing over the course of a couple days at a time, going through periods of dry air and moist air. But for the first time for this weekend, we're actually starting to see that dry air push come in, which should give us a nice pleasant weekend. So here is what this looks like on the ground. So this is a look at the general surface weather patterns going ahead through the next week. So this is a look at this afternoon, and we can see that cold front that we talked about sort of draped across the Tennessee River Valley with another enforcement low pressure draped across the Midwest. But as we start to get into tomorrow, Friday, and then again on Saturday, we see that cold front pushes far to the south, to the central part of the state, and even by Sunday, looks like it could push as far south as the Gulf Coast, with higher pressure starting to move into the forecast area. That's going to give us that nice, pleasant weekend before all that starts to go back away. We start to get more moisture returning towards the beginning of the work week next week on Monday, and we get a return of those diurnal showers and thunderstorms, with a possible chance that we could even have another front pushing through towards the later end of next week. But there is a little bit more uncertainty with that system as of right now, as we have some more model divergence. But there is a chance we could get a second round of this towards the end of next week. These are signs that we haven't seen in a while. We've been stuck in that moisture soup for the prolonged period, but we're finally starting to get a break with that. And we can see that in our precipitation chances over the next few days. So this is today, and a look at radar right now shows that we do have scattered showers and thunderstorms all across the forecast area, with generally somewhere in between the 60 to 75% chance of rain for any portion of our area today. But as we get into tomorrow, we start to see those higher values pushing off into central Georgia. And then by Saturday and again on Sunday, we can see that surge of moist air starting to push down south towards southern Georgia and the Florida Panhandle, with drier chances up north. And this is the first time we've seen below 15% chances of precipitation across a large portion of our area in a very long time. So it's something we're definitely looking forward to and should enjoy while we have it. And then again, by the time we start to see some moisture return back next week, we are expecting scattered showers and thunderstorms to again return area-wide from Monday onward. Taking a look at temperatures, they're not going to vary a whole lot across the week ahead. So this is a look at the 7-day maximum temperatures, so the maximum we're forecasting for the next week ahead. And we're actually seeing, compared to typical times around this summer, that's actually remarkably low. It seems like looking at the temperatures, the highs and the lows for the next week ahead, we are generally below average, which is a nice break than what we've had for the last several weeks. So the 7-day maximum temperature, even for Atlanta, is going to be around 88 degrees, but we're looking generally mid to upper 80s for North Georgia, with upper 80s to even barely into the low 90s is probably going to be on Monday and Tuesday when we reach that 90 threshold, but generally cooler across the area compared to some past weeks. And this is one I'm really excited about. This is looking at the minimum temperature for the next week. And for the first time in a while, we're actually seeing some 60s start to come in. As we start to get that drier air moving into the forecast area, that's going to allow our overnight lows to get lower than they typically do. So for the first time in a while, we're not seeing 70s on this map, we're actually seeing mid 60s, and that goes all the way up from Trenton down to Dublin, where we could see that nice relief. Looking at the 7-day rainfall forecast, obviously because we have drier air surging into North Georgia earlier, most of our heavier rainfall is going to be concentrated for central and southern Georgia. But even there, our values don't range a whole high for any one given area, at least on an aerial average. So generally, we're looking at somewhere around 1/4 of an inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch across the forecast area for the week ahead. However, these are just general averaged rainfall amounts. Localized amounts could vary greatly if a particular shower or thunderstorms stays located over a particular area for a prolonged period of time. And then looking ahead to next week, as we mentioned, once we start to get into that northwest flow pattern, which it could be stationary in our part of the neck of the woods, at least for the next week or two ahead, we start to see that for the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook, we're actually seeing below normal conditions start to move into our area. Again, much needed relief for a lot of these portions of the country. So as we get into next week, if we stay in that northwest flow, we're going to be looking at below average temperatures and potentially slightly above average chances for rainfall. And again, that's mostly due to those moisture surges that we start to see rotating around that big blocking high out west, moving into the forecast area along more concentrated frontal zones. So as we're summarizing again, even though it is an actual cold front, we're not going to see much variation in temperature. So we're calling it mostly a dry front that's going to be pushing in today and Friday, which again is going to give us a great weekend. So be sure to get out and enjoy it. Slightly cooler temperatures are also going to be in store this week, with highs topping out in the mid 80s to low 90s. And then by the time we get into next week, it's still going to remain slightly cooler than usual, but we'll be getting back into the scattered showers and storms each and every day area wide from Monday onward. And we didn't touch on it a little bit, but the drought conditions are continuing to improve with the recent rainfall we have, and the tropics are still remaining quiet for now. We are starting to see some inklings that activity could start to nudge up as we get into the weeks ahead, but at least for now, no apparent threats out there at the moment. So with that, again, I've been Kyle Thiem with the National Weather Service office in Peachtree City. For any further information, please feel free to check out our new decision support page, weather.gov/ff/DSS, for all your decision support needs. You can also reach out to us on social media through Twitter or Facebook, or contact us directly at the information above. With that, this again has been your weekly weather briefing. We appreciate you and hope you all have a great week.